My uncle always had that reputation, and honestly, I've always wondered if the rumor was true. I wanted to see it for myself. But there was a catch. My husband couldn't find out about any of it, so I had to be super discreet. I'll just say up front that it turned out to be one of the best experiences of my life. Stick around till the end, and you'll get why. My uncle was always the kind of guy people whispered about, with those knowing glances and sly smiles. Everyone knew about his rep, but no one dared say it out loud. His rep? Let's just say folks claimed he was gifted in a certain way, but I won't spell it out. The funny thing is, my uncle wasn't exactly the type you'd see on a magazine cover. He wasn't the classic heartthrob with blue eyes and a chiseled jaw that makes women swoon. Nah, he was more the average Joe who'd blend right into a crowd, with his everyday looks. But despite that, he always had women lining up for him, like he was the last cold beer on a scorching summer day. I don't know if it was his natural charm or that rumor floating around, but women just seemed to flock to him like moths to a flame. And I'm not talking a handful of admirers. No, my uncle had a whole fan club trailing after him everywhere, like they were under some kind of spell. Sometimes I'd wonder what they saw in him, especially since he wasn't the hottest guy out there. As far back as I can remember, that rumor about my uncle was always there. The one nobody would say outright, but everyone seemed to know. That he was well endowed? Yeah, that's it, but not in the brains or athletic department, something a bit more personal. And let me tell you, it always got my curiosity going. Is it true, or just some overblown gossip? I don't know, but I'm set on finding out. After all, who wouldn't want to know if the rumor holds up? Of course, there's a tiny issue. How the heck do I figure this out without coming off like a total weirdo? That was the million-dollar question. I couldn't just straight up ask my uncle about the size of, well, That'd be way too awkward, even for me. But I couldn't just brush off the rumor and pretend it never existed either. No, I needed to crack this puzzle in a way that was low-key and, ideally, without stirring up trouble with my husband. So I started brainstorming, hunting for a way to handle this little quest. What could I do to uncover the truth without making my uncle feel weird or embarrassed? The answer wasn't obvious, but I was dead set on not giving up until I found it. Maybe I could pick up clues from how he acted, or from the way women eyed him when they thought no one was watching. Or heck, maybe I'd turn to tech and Google around for any hints about him. Or even chat up some of the women who used to hang around him and see if they'd drop a clue. Whatever it took, I was committed to solving this mystery once and for all. Because if there's one thing I learned from my uncle, it's that you never know what you'll find if you're willing to look. And I was more than willing to dig for the truth, no matter what it took. Here's the kicker, I've got a husband. And while that wouldn't be a big deal normally, when it comes to my secret mission to check if my uncle's really as gifted as the rumors say, things get tricky. My husband's awesome, he really is. But I don't think he'd take it well if his wife was snooping around about her uncle's size. Not exactly dinner table talk at a family barbecue, right? So here I am, stuck between my burning curiosity and wanting to keep things smooth in my marriage. I can't just ignore the rumor and move on, but I also can't risk my husband catching wind of what I'm up to. It's a real pickle. The only fix seems to be keeping it all under wraps. No one needs to know about my little investigation into my uncle, especially not my hubby. I'll have to be as sneaky as possible, acting like everything's normal while I chase down clues about my uncle's mysterious endowment. But being sneaky won't be easy. I'll have to plan every step carefully, making sure my husband doesn't suspect a thing. And that means being clever, resourceful, and above all, super careful. Because the last thing I can afford is for my little adventure to uncover the truth about my uncle to wreck my marriage. So I'm set on being discreet, keeping my sleuthing secret while going about my daily life like nothing's up. Because at the end of the day, protecting what I've got is priority one, even if it means shelving my curiosity for a bit. But don't worry, I'm determined to crack this case, even if it's on the down low. Because if there's one thing I am, it's persistent. And I'm hellbent on finding the truth, whatever it costs. So after mulling it over a ton, I came up with a plan. And what better time to kick it off than my husband's upcoming birthday bash? Turns out, we'd be throwing his birthday party soon, and like always, we'd have the whole family and friends over at our place. Picture it, people everywhere, laughs, tunes blasting, and of course, my uncle right in the mix. This would be my golden chance. With so many folks around, it'd be way easier to sidle up to my uncle without raising eyebrows. After all, no one's gonna notice two people having a quiet chat in the corner while the party's in full swing, right? So I psyched myself up and decided this was it. I'd have to be careful, sure, but I was confident I could coax some info out of my uncle without anyone catching on. And who knows, maybe I'd find out the rumor was just hot air. Or maybe, well, better not jump ahead. I'd have to wait and see. But one thing was for sure, after my husband's birthday party, things would never be the same. Because that'd be the day I started my hunt for the truth about my uncle, and I wouldn't stop till I got it. Our house was the perfect spot for my husband's birthday party. It's spacious, with plenty of rooms and a big backyard that's ideal for folks to mingle and have fun. While we were setting everything up for the party, my mind was elsewhere. I was locked in on executing my plan, no matter what. I had that determination dialed in, and nothing or no one was gonna stop me. Party day finally rolled around, where it all went down. I was dressed and ready to verify the rumor about my uncle. As guests started showing up and the party kicked into gear, I kept an eye on my uncle from the side, waiting for the right moment to approach. I knew I had to play it cool, so I bided my time until I spotted my opening. When the music was pumping and everyone was distracted, I weaved through the crowd and got close to my uncle. He greeted me with a warm smile and a hug, no clue what I was about to pull. With my heart pounding, I made my move. It was now or never. Gathering my nerve, I tossed out the question that had been swirling in my head forever. "Hey, Uncle," I started, keeping my voice steady. "I've heard some rumors about you, you know? Stuff about, well, you get it." My uncle looked at me curiously, waiting for more. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of my words hanging there, but I couldn't back out now. "So, what's the deal with those rumors?" I asked, locking eyes with him, desperate for an answer. My uncle chuckled, catching me off guard with his reaction. "Ah, those rumors," he said with a mischievous grin. "Let me ask you, are you sure you want to know?" His question threw me. Was I sure? Truth is, I wasn't totally sure about anything right then. I'd never thought about being with my uncle like that before. But there he was, with that cheeky smile and twinkle in his eye, and suddenly I was mulling it over. My heart was racing in my chest as I scrambled for the right words. Should I say no, that it was a dumb idea to ask? Or push forward and see what happened if I went along? But before I could decide, the words just spilled out. "Yeah," I said, my voice shaky, surprising even myself with my boldness. "Yeah, I want to know." My uncle nodded approvingly, like he'd been expecting it. "All right," he said, his tone buzzing with excitement. "Then I'll wait for you upstairs in the guest room. When you're ready, come find me." With that, he left me standing there, stunned and swirling with mixed feelings. I'd never considered being with my uncle that way before, but now that the idea was planted, I couldn't shake it. A knot twisted in my stomach as I wondered what came next. I was a bit tipsy from the party drinks, which probably fueled my sudden gutsiness, but still, the thrill of the unknown had me hooked. With my pulse racing, I knew I had to be as discreet as possible. I couldn't let anyone suspect what I was up to. First things first, make sure my husband was occupied, so I scanned the crowd and spotted him chatting lively with some buddies out back. With my plan in motion, I navigated carefully through the guests, ensuring no one saw me slip away. I couldn't risk anyone figuring out what was about to happen. With every step, mixed emotions flooded my brain, but I clung to my resolve to uncover the truth about my uncle. Then, I made it to the stairs without anyone noticing. Breathing a sigh of relief, I started climbing, feeling the adrenaline surge through me with each step. I knew I was about to cross a line I'd never imagined, but I couldn't stop. Hard in my throat, I headed inside and upstairs, ignoring the voices in my head saying this was wrong. But as I made my way down the hall, all my doubts faded, replaced by pure anticipation for what was ahead. Soon, I reached the guest room door and paused for a second, a whirlwind of emotions inside me. But then, with a determined breath, I turned the knob and stepped in, closing the door behind me with a soft click. I was ready to face whatever waited on the other side, because I knew there was no turning back. When I walked into the room, there was my uncle, just like he said, waiting for me. The air was thick with anticipation and excitement, and I knew there was no going back. What happened next is something I can't describe in detail, but let me tell you, it was one of the best experiences of my life. What I can say is that all those stories and whispers about my uncle were spot on. Every word, every hint, it was all true. And though I can't spill the beans on what went down in that room, I can say it was an adventure I'll never forget. I felt alive in a way I'd never felt before. Every move, every glance, it was all intense and passionate. And even though I knew what we were doing was risky and maybe a bit out of line, I couldn't help but get swept up in the moment. When I left the room, I was shaking with excitement and had a smile plastered on my face. I'd uncovered the truth about my uncle, and somehow, I felt closer to him than ever. But I also knew what happened between us had to stay secret. No one could find out about our adventure, especially not my husband. So, with a heart full of mixed emotions, I headed back to the party, trying to keep it together while the memory kept replaying in my mind. Because even though what went down between my uncle and me was our secret alone, it was an experience I'd never forget. And though it might have been risky, I don't regret it for a second. Because sometimes, the best moments in life are the ones you don't plan. After the high from the adventure with my uncle wore off, one question started nagging at me: was what I did wrong? Was it a mistake to give in to the heat of the moment? I found myself torn between guilt and thrill, trying to sort out answers to questions I'd never asked myself before. I felt trapped, unsure if I should regret it or be grateful for what happened. What would people think if they found out about our fling? How would my husband react if he learned the truth? Doubts flooded me, but at the same time, I couldn't stop replaying the intensity of the experience I shared with my uncle. Was it bad to let passion and excitement take over? Or was it just one of those things life throws at you, and you gotta accept it and move on? And then, an even more unsettling question crept in: would you do it? Would you do the same if you were in my shoes? The thought bugged me, but it intrigued me too. What would you do in a similar spot? No one can ever know what I did. That's the truth, it's a secret. If anyone found out, it could ruin everything: my marriage, my family, my whole life. I'm committed to keeping this secret with my uncle. Even though hiding it is risky, I know it's best for everyone. If my husband found out, our marriage would crumble in a heartbeat, and I couldn't bear losing it all over a fleeting impulse. So I guard this secret like a precious treasure. I haven't even told my girlfriends. Every time I see my uncle, our eyes meet with that knowing look, reminding us of the hidden moment we shared. But we know we can't let anyone else in on it. In the end, it was all true. The rumor about my uncle and his gift turned out to be real. Though the experience was thrilling and left me with memories I'll never shake, I have to stay discreet. I kept the secret with my uncle like I promised, tucking our adventure away in the shadows while I go on with my everyday life. But it'll always be there, lurking in the back of my mind, reminding me of the truth we shared. Though I'm signing off now, I know this isn't the end of the story.